Is it that time already? Why, yes it is. I have another sketchbook tour for you all, and I'm very excited to share this one because it contains some of my recent favorite gouache sketches. So let's jump in. I started this sketchbook late last summer in August and just recently completed it in April this year. And this is my Seawhite of Brighton cold pressed watercolor sketchbook. However, it's not 100% cotton, which is why I use it for gouache, because for my watercolor paintings, I absolutely want 100% cotton. Anyways, let's get started. As usual, I'll show you each page and some close-ups and give you a little behind-the-scenes info about what the page contains. This first spread was dedicated to a camping trip we took last summer, and we ended up going on a really rainy, foggy weekend, but it was so beautiful. Unfortunately, I forgot my gouache painting supplies, so I had to do this when I got home while the memory was still fresh. I love spending time on the coasts painting in the summer, but we were in the lockdown last year, so I was forced to use references and old videos to paint from. And I honestly think it was sort of like a form of art therapy for me because I couldn't go listen to the waves in person. I would just listen and watch my videos while I painted. A couple pages of cloud studies, particularly focusing on creating really interesting dry brush textures on the clouds. And then we actually had an ease in our lockdown, and Wolfie and I went to the coast and we sat at a little pub by the water and had a beer and just hung out and watched the beautiful sunset. We wandered around the harbor, so I was able to get a lot of references of these beautiful sailboats, and it just really inspired me to paint some more detailed gouache boats because I hadn't done that before. And I'll put a link to the video in the description. And since I have quite a few paintings in this sketchbook that are also videos, I will put those links in the description below in case you're interested in watching them. But most of these are actually painted from reference because of the lockdown. But you know what? It's better than nothing. And painting from reference is definitely useful and has a place. Just that for me personally, I find that I learn more when I paint from life, and I find it just more fulfilling and more enjoyable in general. These pages were definitely experimental, trying different techniques for layering and mark making with my brush, just creating different textures, as well as experimenting with different limited palettes. So pretty much every painting you see in this sketchbook was done with a limited palette, and that's just the way I love to paint, and I just learned so much about color mixing when I do that. A bunch of these forest paintings were painted during my live streams, so if you're ever interested in watching my process, try to make it to one of the streams, and you can also ask questions while I'm painting. In these recent pages, you can probably tell I was very inspired by the autumn, well, the changing of the leaves during autumn. It's so breathtaking here. One of the benefits of being stuck at home is that I was really forcing myself to go out as much as I could on local walks. And I was so thankful that the weather was really nice last autumn, and I experienced one of the best autumns of my life, actually. And just beautiful colors, perfect temperatures. I was painting outside a lot. Oh my goodness, that will definitely stay with me for a long time, and I love having these pages to represent that and like renew my memories of how wonderful it was. There's really something to be said for being super inspired by your subject. Like when I'm painting these autumn forest scenes, I am filled with so much excitement and just love for the forest. And they definitely stick in my memory as some of my favorite pieces. It was also around this time of year that I was feeling very homesick, which I know is not the right word, but every year during autumn we were going to Skye until last year because of the lockdown. But the Isle of Skye is like my favorite place on earth, so I was painting Skye nonstop. And then something magical happened. We realized we could go to Skye during this one specific time when the lockdown was slightly eased. We ended up going in November, which was pretty much winter. So it was kind of brutal weather. I barely painted at all when I was there, but I brought back so much inspiration from that trip. And in fact, I ended up with a ton of amazing references from that moody weather. People always ask me when the best time to visit Scotland is, and that's why I'd say really any time year-round. It's amazing. Some of you might be wondering if I like painting in this sketchbook, and I do like it for gouache. I don't really use it for watercolor because I prefer 100% cotton paper, as I mentioned, but gouache performs really well, and I can highly recommend it for that. Or it's really good for like loose ink and watercolor sketches. If you follow me on Skillshare, you'll definitely recognize these waterfalls. And actually, if you follow me anywhere, a lot of the paintings in this sketchbook are going to look super familiar. I had like crazy deja vu when I was filming this because I've already filmed a lot of these pages and close-ups of the pages for other videos and classes and stuff. So yeah, anyways, it's really cool to look back through the sketchbooks whenever I do these tours because those memories come flooding back so strongly. A couple of these pages have these botanical studies or these close-up studies of plants with dark backgrounds, which is a really fun way to paint botanicals of any kind. Definitely recommend that if you like painting with gouache. This page on the left was my first plein air of 2021, and our forest had just flooded, so I went out with my sketchbook on a sunny day and just sat by the flooded river running through the forest. It was really cool. It does that every year, apparently, so it does cause a little bit of damage, but nothing too extreme. Okay, and now these pages were inspired by Princess Mononoke. I don't really ever paint fan art of Ghibli for some reason, even though it really inspires me. Maybe I'll do more in the future, I don't know, but it was a really big challenge because I was trying to use more of my phthalo colors, which are very, very intense. And I realized I really don't like using phthalo blues and greens unless I absolutely have to. Anyways, then we ventured to the Scottish countryside and then all the way to Japan, virtually that is. I love walking around Japan on Google Maps and just looking at the beautiful Japanese gardens. Oh, and someday I would love to go back to Japan, especially as an artist. I can paint all the things in person. That would be amazing. Oh, and I forgot to mention that during this sketchbook, I was taking part in a 100-day challenge where I paint a gouache painting every day for 100 days. And it was so incredibly valuable in so many ways, really challenging, really difficult, but the biggest technical thing I took away from it was that I improved my water control and being able to create certain textures or certain marks, which requires more of a mastery of water control. So if anyone else out there is interested in leveling up, you don't have to do 100 days, but just painting consistently for a while every day with gouache or whatever the medium is, you will see drastic improvements after a while. And towards the end of this sketchbook, I am jumping back and forth between beautiful spring-inspired forests and snow scenes because we had a very moody spring. We are still having a moody spring. We had a couple snowstorms mixed in between beautiful sunny days. And this was also when I was teaching my Etchr workshop where I was using a snow scene as my subject. So I was doing a lot of practice in this sketchbook just to keep my understanding of snow fresh. But my heart always goes back to the forest, and we had a few days of gorgeous weather, and I was able to capture some really beautiful moments in the forest. And I think some of these forest studies at the end of this sketchbook are my favorites all year so far. Maybe because of the memories, the feelings they bring back to me, but also because I've started using my knowledge that I've gained during the 100-day challenge to paint scenes in a way that makes me happy, not just copying reference or I really want to use fun colors but capture the realism in a way. I want a very happy medium between those two. And now that I'm finished with the 100-day challenge, I am so excited to do some bigger pieces that really speak directly from my heart. I have to admit that looking back at these snow scenes, I'm so over snow. I just want summer. But these were painted from references from this past winter when we had one of the most gorgeous snowfalls and sunsets I've ever seen. I'll put a clip here so you can kind of get the feeling of that day in the forest. And I truly think this will continue to inspire me for a very long time to come. And now we have come to the end, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this little journey through my sketchbook. I love reliving these memories, and I really appreciate you all leaving comments and liking my tour videos and just showing your support in all the ways that you do. It means a lot to me. And if you are interested in learning about how to paint anything you've seen, I have plenty of videos and tutorials. I'll put some info in the description below. All right, I'll see you all again soon. Take care.